Ed Zitron is a liar, a bloviating demagogue of half-truths and self-importance. The man has as much intellectual integrity as a molecule of cubic zirconia. Yeah, sure, it's nice and shiny from a distance, but you crack it just a little bit and you see it for what it is. It ain't nothing but costume jewelry for the chronically online. And not just anyone chronically online. I'm talking about the worst type of chronically online people. The type of people that use ChatGPT all day just to survive work or school, just like all of us. And then after they extract all this value from ChatGPT, they get home, they log on to social media, and they declare how much they hate AI artwork. And they talk about how they're proudly anti-AI. Right. And yeah, sure, maybe that's a bit of a straw man, so go ahead and shoot me. But I digress. The worst part about Ed Zitron, I actually mean this, one of the things that bothers me the most about him is that I'd say his takes are about as subtle as a bull in a Baptist gift shop. It's painfully obvious that he's nothing more than a shill, desperate for views, like a vegan at a Texas barbecue. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I've done my clickbaity job, and hopefully I've got your interest a little bit. I actually don't hate Ed Zitron that much. I do think he wildly oversimplifies things to a sickening degree, but I think I actually have a much more balanced view of him. And my dog is dying to go for a walk right now, so why don't we dial down the anger, step outside, and talk about this a little more. Before we just continue our outright hate war on Ed Zitron, let's actually take a step back. Let's think about where computers were at even just 5 or 10 years ago. Here's an interesting thing Bill Gates had to say about computer programming.
When I got home to edit this, I realized that I could not find the exact quote I wanted. And so, without further ado, I now present my best Bill Gates impression.
Computers are really just ones and zeros. That's all they are. And it's a lot of if statements too, so once you make the decision with simple if statements, there's nothing to be afraid of. They like to follow rules. Obviously, that's a bit of a bastardization of the type of thing he would say, but I did find some interviews where he said something to this effect. I couldn't really get the quote in regards to ones and zeros and binary thinking as much as I wanted, but that's going to be the best we're going to have to do for now. Now, this is a perspective my father shared with me when I was pretty young, so maybe that Bill Gates quote has been making its way around. But because I pretty much always had that perspective on computers, granted it's pretty oversimplified that they ain't nothing but ones and zeros, I remember being in San Francisco and probably about 2019 and someone telling me about how, all the big tech executives that I know that are really going somewhere, they're going to AI companies and they're doing this crazy thing with AI this and AI that. And I remember thinking, what a bunch of lunatics. It almost seemed like these were the same type of people that would tell you about alien conspiracy theories. But then ChatGPT came around and everything changed really, really quickly. So AI has fascinated me beyond belief for a multitude of reasons. For what feels like the first time in history, computers definitely ain't just ones and zeros anymore. And for a long time they haven't been. Obviously there's been different types of programming and whatnot, and as you abstract up further layers, there's a little bit less to it, but we're kind of getting in the weeds there. The main thing is, now you used to have to explain code to CPUs so that it could run through video cards or whatever, and now it's kind of the opposite. You're explaining code to video cards so that your CPU can run it, or your browser, or whatever. Things in the cloud. It's all magical mumbo jumbo. So I don't think anyone can really deny the magic of ChatGPT. That being said, I did a pretty
angry takedown of Ed Zitron that I honestly don't fully stand behind. He probably has a really good point. A lot of these companies probably are pretty overvalued. It definitely seems like we're in a bit of a bubble. According to certain YouTube economics and markets I watch, Nvidia is paying OpenAI, and then OpenAI is turning back around and paying Nvidia and getting more money from Microsoft and Google and whoever they can. And I'm just not an economics professor, and I don't understand a lot of the complexities of it. I'm sure that there are aspects of it that are just blown out of proportion, and Ed Zitron has a point. But here's where I really have a huge bone to pick with Ed Zitron. One of his arguments that he loves to pass through all the time, and you hear him saying is, it's just not that useful. It's just not that useful. Really? Is it just not that useful? Because I've been using it. And it's not even getting better, and they say it's reached its peak, and just no one can even figure out what to do with it. Really? Really, no one can figure out what to do with it. Everybody is using it on their exams, and maybe it's not the best use of it, and you probably shouldn't be learning, directly like that or cheating like that. But people are going to do what they do, and that's useful. If I had ChatGPT in college, would I have used it to cheat? Probably. But could I have also used it as a tutor and saved money? But because as someone that wouldn't have been able to afford a tutor? Yeah, there's all these wild use cases. And that's not even scratching the surface for how I use ChatGPT, and not just ChatGPT, but AI tools in general. So now let's talk a little bit about my career. Because I've always been a salesperson, true and blue, but I've also been someone that's lightly taught myself different concepts of computer programming over time, pre-AI, mind you. And one of the things that I realized when I was teaching myself computer programming is a lot of the best computer programmers, think about this for a second, are they geniuses? Maybe. Are they smarter than you? Maybe, maybe not. That's probably, the verdict might be out on that one. Maybe it's probably. I'm not anyone to say on that. But here's the kicker. Did they have an inordinate amount of time to dump into this? Oh yeah, you bet your ass. Sometimes people become computer programmers because they're geniuses, and sometimes they had a lot of time to study the basics and get their shit together. So is this somewhat of a jaded perspective that is maybe just kind of me making excuses for myself for not going deeper into programming? Yeah, maybe. But is there also a reality of classism where some people have more time to invest in higher value arts and sciences than others? Yeah, absolutely. It happens every day. So with those things in mind, you really have to take a step back and ask the question, did I not become a computer programmer because I'm not smart enough? Or did I maybe just not have the amount of time I wanted? And this really brings me to AI programming or vibe coding. And vibe coding is absolutely something that you could look down on. It's a bit of a pejorative term, and I'll be the first to admit it. Telling someone you're a vibe coder isn't really a good look. But here's the reality. With just a little bit of basic software knowledge and AI integrated development engines like Windsurf or Cursor, you can get pretty dangerous pretty quick. And previously, this monolithic job that was only assigned to the gods of computer programming or the people with bigger salaries or inordinate amounts of time on their hands truly has become democratized. There's a couple apps I'm going to share on the screen that I've written, and they work. One of them personalizes emails at scale via API calls to OpenAI. And I'll be the first to tell you that it's not production ready. When it comes to actually implementing a backend and a front end, this isn't the craziest app, and I could probably get it up and running within 2 to 4 weeks if I really, devoted my life to it or had more time. But I don't. And the thing is, it runs locally, and that's okay. I can still use it locally for clients that I have on Upwork. Let's think about the job market for a second. In 2020, you could basically just have a heartbeat and get a good job at a tech company working from home. The job market has changed. I don't know about you, but I found it really hard to get a decent work from home job, and I don't think I'm alone. I've put in hundreds, if not thousands, of applications and heard nothing. And I have numerous friends that have done the same thing. So now that we're in this new world where maybe employment is a little bit harder, you're gonna have to use any trick up your sleeve that you can muster. I basically gave up on finding a decent job, and I ended up just becoming a freelancer, and I've pretty much gotten as much work as I've ever wanted. Another interesting thing here is that in my sales career, I've always felt like I'm completely locked in to sales. Sure, I've done tech sales and I've even worked my way up at some somewhat bigger companies here and there, but I've never felt like I could really break out of that role. And for the first time, I actually am. Granted, some of my software applications only run locally right now, but we still get a lot of use and a lot of value out of them for a couple of my clients. Additionally, when it comes to front-end web development, I'm not nervous about deploying that. I have numerous projects for front-end web development that I've done with AI that I think look great, that are ready to go. And so if you're considering doing AI software development, then for the back end, you might want to actually consider taking an online class or doing something to self-educate yourself. But when it comes to the front end, that's something pretty much anyone could do almost immediately. You might want to do a quick brush up on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but at that point, what else is there to do? I also get paid to make AI videos and edit them within Premiere Pro. And granted, I think that my career, my background as a tech salesperson has helped me get into these roles a little bit more quickly and easily than other people. I've listened to radio specials about people that can't find jobs at all, and they're fresh out of college, they're way more educated than me, and even them, they can't get any work. And I have, honestly, at this point, I have more work than I can fully handle. And I don't want to say that fully because I actually am handling my workload fairly well, but I'm as busy as I want to be right now. So in conclusion, is Ed Zitron nothing but a shill and a liar? Not really. I wouldn't say so. He has a decent point. But does he overblow things? Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when he says, oh, and there's no use cases and it's not that useful. Yeah, businesses are struggling to find hardcore major use cases right now, but we're within the first 3 or 4 years of the technology even being relatively mainstream. And I've leveled up my income with it. And I know maybe there's an element of survivorship bias there, and not everyone is, and I'm not even doing super advanced systems. But again, there's this key word we have to think about. I'm not developing key fundamental systems yet. I very easily could dump more time into learning more and accomplishing more, but I'm also just working with AI and my income has become healthy again. I was worried I was going to become homeless for a little while, and I started using all these different tools and going on Upwork, and I've actually found some success. And I don't know, I hope you enjoyed this video.